DOTE.
Welcome to the advanced tutorial on using named subtier types. And these are a very rich way of giving some sort of data structure that allows you to categorize things that are essential for a Mondadian transcript. So we're going to focus on the Mondadian versions of the LEGO demo project as we see here. And this is our Mondadian transcript. It's not perfect, but it gives you an idea of how that works with quite complex subtiers. So we're going to see some of the more advanced features of how to use named subtier types. So first thing to do is, how do we get these alignment symbols? Where do they come from? We assumed in the basic tutorial that they were just existing. What you need to do is go to your settings, from File, Settings, and here you'll see Mondadian Action alignment symbols. And these are ordered, so it starts with a plus and then a star and then an at, and there is a standard core. This might be the core set, I can't remember, but there's a core set that we include with the standard default settings, but you can add any symbol that you want. All you have to do is type it here, special symbol that you'd like, and say add, and it will add to the list. And then you can reorder them. For example, if we think this one here should be above, we can move it up and drop it down, or put it back where it was. So you can reorder this list, start to tailor it to what are my preferred symbols that I like to use all the time, or for a particular transcript I want to use these ones. These are the default settings for all transcripts, so you'll have to reorder them every time. We don't have default settings for individual transcripts. So this means that this is an ordered list that will appear later when you look at your transcript options and you want to make a new subtier. So let's see that in operation. So for this transcript here, we've already entered, as you can see, quite a few subtiers, and we've assigned symbols to them. We could reassign, so if I click on this, I don't want a star, for example, for the P1 head, it would actually create errors in this transcript, but let's say we wish to change. These are the ones that are left that haven't been used out of that list that we had earlier, because all the others have been used here. Same if we move down here, that's what's left. And if we use this one, then this will be released to be used in another subtier. So you can change your subtiers, you can add the right symbol that you need, and let's see what happens. If we say add, here we get a blank subtier. Let's say we want R1, for example, the researcher. We've got body and gaze. Let's say we want to know what their hand is doing. Or say the camera, we want to know what the camera is doing. So we could say cam or camera. We can decide ourselves how long we want that subtier to be. Let's just call it cam. And notice we have an autocomplete column. That means if I want it to autocomplete, it means I want it every time that I add a speaker or a participant, it will automatically add this one in a tier. Automatically. Now maybe I'd like one of these. For example, a person is, let's say it is R1 cam. I want to know what the camera is doing at all the times, no matter what's going on. Choose a symbol. Let's say, well, let's use the clubs symbol. So there's the club symbol. These are all Unicode symbols. They're not emojis. And you can use emojis, but then it actually won't. Emojis are non-proportional, so they will not line up properly. So we recommend not doing that. So I've added a new one, R1 cam. Now what that means, let's say here we want to start editing here, and we think, well, we need a cam. What's happening with the camera at this point here? So what we can do is say R, and we get R1. Notice R1 cam is here now. So let's say R1 cam. What's the symbol? It's a club. There we are. And let's say we want it here. There's the cat club. It knows that it could be any one of the subtiers. There's two of them, so this is the one we want. And that's going to be new shot. Let's do, and let's do that to mean new shot, and it carries on beyond the end of the transcript, so we get no errors. So there we can see with the Mondadian system. Now, because we added that symbol, things are a little bit out of alignment, so we can say fix that, so it fixes it for us. And this continuation, if we added a new one on the next, change in the shot, then we would have to change that. because it wouldn't be going on beyond the end of the transcript. So these are all issues that DOTE will deal with for you. You don't have to worry about that. And now we have entered in a new subtier that's recognized, and it knows that this is the club symbol. So if I put a different symbol there, let's say I put an and or a percent, let's say a percent, it's going to give an error. Incorrect symbol, and it tells you that it should be a club. I'm just going to go there. It should be a club, as you said in the transcript options. So something's gone wrong. It's going to spot all sorts of errors because it knows that R1 cam should have that symbol. So we'll put it back to what it should be there, and then the error's gone away. Okay, so that gives us some idea of setting up new subtiers. Let's just try, I think, did we set that as an autocomplete? You can see we've got an autocomplete, so let's see what happens. I'm just going to undo this, so we'll go back to what it should be. There. Now if we just say, well, let's make a new P1 does something. Yes, well, we have to add it for the person, sorry. It's R1 in this case. Let's just delete those. R1, there's R1. Then we get the cam. So we get the translation and we get the cam. Of course, for R1, maybe he's not saying anything. We can get rid of that. Now we need something here. There is a tab here. Shouldn't be there. R1 cam, and then what's the symbol? It's a star. Sorry, a club. And of course we'll have to add it here as well, and then we can do, say, whatever that shot is, however we want to describe it. The error is there because it's got an invalid action end. It needs to either stop, it could be here, so if we say stop, that needs also to be stopped here. Now it needs to be proportionally aligned, and then it's fixed. So let's say the R1 cam does something very briefly while he says something. Maybe he puts the camera to point somewhere else and then returns it. So autocomplete, alignment of symbols, all is catered for in DOTE. What we're going to do is just go backwards on that, back to where we were. I'm going to go back and I'm going to delete that one because we don't want that one. Take that one off and delete. There we are. Close, and now we're back into the transcript as it should be. What we could also do is, let's say on the same lines 44, 45, we actually want to include an image. This is a category subtier, and we only support at the moment the figure category subtier. So if I say hash fig, anything in the word, there's an F, complete, hash fig is going to tell there's going to be a figure coming up, and let's say it's here. We don't have an autocomplete for that, but we know what it is. It's a hash. And then figure 1. Now, of course, we do need to have it here to indicate where it happens. And there we are. We do need to do a bit of alignment, realignment. There we are. And now we have, after 0.2 second, there's a figure. And of course, if you've looked at the export to RTF, all of this can be removed. So it will just remain with the hash fig1. When you export. We can just quickly look at that just to double check. Export to RTF. We're in Mondada. We choose the Mondada styles. It's still got the fig there. That shouldn't be so, but that will be fixed in the final release. Fig should be removed, and that means that everything is lined up here and we have a figure. Okay, all right. The other thing that we can do, not only is, as you've maybe seen so far, let's just say we add another speaker here. P1 does something. Let's say P1's body, and we need to know. Well, let's say it starts here. What's the symbol? It's a plus sign. We don't need to remember that. What we need here, as you've seen, is we get a selection of possibilities for is it the P1 or the P3 gaze symbol you want to include here, and it is a P1 body and it puts it in for us. So we're getting auto-completion on the subtier as well as in the head of the neighborhood, because this obviously has to be paralleled. Every symbol needs to be associated with the symbol in the head, and whether that's a speaker head or a timed interval head. So auto-completion works across that, and it tries to be smart about that. It won't suggest other subtiers if you haven't included them already. So best thing to do is set up your neighborhood with a head, then start with some subtiers, and then start putting in the what you need, and then start putting in the symbols where you need them, and then doing realignments. As you can see, we can do a quick realignment just to get things sorted. Of course, something needs to happen with that plus. And as soon as we start typing, it says, well, where does it end? And so you get all the help to try and make sure that you're consistent across neighborhoods and within neighborhoods. Okay, possible problems is you could have quite difficult subtiers which are very complex. You can see here we've got onsets before, we've got continuations, onsets before the transcript. Maybe something could potentially throw the parser, and we'll hopefully be snagging those bugs and fixing those over time as we discover them, because you can have very complex sets of neighborhoods. But sometimes it may be because you have actually not used the conventions correctly according to version 5.0.1. If these conventions are updated at some point, then we will also have to support the update, and it might be that we support two versions of the Mondadian system, one release and then a further release. We also have our own system, and I can just quickly show you that. I'm just going to, well, I don't need to go back, it will automatically remove these. Let's open a project and open the Mondadian variant. I want to discard all those changes I made, and what you'll see here is we're using these timed interval, and if I actually go to here and say Control Enter with a space, it says 0.1 second, and that gives you that symbol if you don't know what it is and can't find it. It's a Unicode symbol, but each one is 0.1 second, and that means we can have both within a neighborhood and we can have as the head of a neighborhood as a timed interval. And here we see that what we saw as 0.2 and 0.3 seconds is now proportional, and that can be very useful as we go down, because 0.2, 0.3 is rather different from 1.5, and here we see it's nicely spaced out according to the timing. So it's got some sort of connection to the morphological, graphological forms that how we read speech. We've also got that now in terms of some timing here, clock time for the timed interval head of a neighborhood. So these will also not be recognized as a alignment symbol, but as soon as we change like this, it will say, do you want to fix that? And there it's fixed it for us. So it recognizes this as spacing, as a time spacing, and will not change it. So complex neighborhoods, it could be the ordering of the subtiers. You might switch the ordering, and that's very easy to do if you just press Alt or Option in Mac and then the arrow key. As you can see here, you can move things up and down. So I can switch around the current line with the line above or the line below as necessary. So Alt or Option on Mac, I think it is Option on Mac, then that allows you to switch things very quickly, so you can switch around subtiers, and that might solve the problem if you're getting some sort of error. Okay, that's enough on using name subtier types from an advanced perspective.